a flash, a very rough indicator of complexity, which shows the GDP for per capita and the evolution from year 2000 to the Industrial Revolution. And you see that in about 800 years it didn't change much at all. And then in very, very few years it skyrocketed. Let's go to the next one. These are similar graphs that I found yesterday, some days ago in this book. And we see, it's difficult to see, but 2.5 million years ago, GDP per capita, up to the Industrial Revolution. This is more accurate than the other, the GDP growth. And the GDP is a rough indicator of the complexity of the exchanges in the economy, transactions, and so on. Here there is an enlargement of the last years from 1700 to today. So, the Industrial Revolution was a big shock for the humankind, and led to a cultural development in the sense that people were enthusiastic about this huge richness produced in short time. Of course, this richness was not allocated exactly as many would have liked. But the astonishment, the pride for these achievements, in such a short time, had imprinted very, very strongly the culture of that time. And then there was a push to get more. The evolution of technology was extremely fast. And to cope and to push on one side and to cope with the growing complexity, this specialization culture was born. This led, though, to a fragmentation of perspectives, because everybody was very good at doing things in one slice of the reality, but no one would really care about the big picture. And so that led to these big unintended consequences and problems that we had in the whole century. And this is a very rough simplification of one process. But the message is that the positivist culture that came out of this Industrial Revolution, and which has come to today, because even though now there are new thinkings, has been one big issue for the strategic thinkers, because would go to specialization and not to the recognition of the importance of the big picture. And this is another reason why I'm happy to be here, because this is a truly interdisciplinary course and goes exactly toward the building of a strategic leadership education. Okay. If we have not changed, sure the world has changed, and we live in what has been called volatile, uncertain, rapidly changing world. Complex, I forgot complex. The C is for complex, very important. With diminishing resources. We could speak a lot about this, we won't do it. We go to these questions. How do we cope in first approximation? Let's go. First of all, we must broaden our minds. And these are, take this as just considerations, and we will go quickly through them, and so we will get a break, a well-deserved break, because let's go ahead. The first one is know yourself. The awareness of who we are. Why did we speak? Did we invest time on showing our ancestors and the basic fundamental needs and mechanisms? Because it's important, I think, to understand where we come from, who we are. And this is at the level of let's say, humankind, but also at the level of the individual. In this sense, human sciences can be a leadership enabler. It's important to know the role of biological and cultural heritage in our huge organizations. And so, small group dynamics, ethics, thinking abilities, to start immediately with an introspective education. Get used to look into yourself, because this is very important, and to establish self-correction mechanisms, and these are critical for strategic thinkers and leaders, and to better understand the others, because we have the basic architecture of inner architecture is the same, interior architecture. The German comes pollutes my vocabulary. But it's important. It's a good way to understand the others, and also to have more empathy with the others, to know your weaknesses, especially the weaknesses. Okay. History is very important. The great strategic thinkers of the past. And if you read in the Bello Gallico, you see incredible expression of strategic thinking. And their basic education was history. And today this is still so, also because history, this anticipates a frame of reference that I would like to propose later. History is the record of a complex system at work. Complex systems cannot be forecasted. History is the record, is the description of how a complex system behaves. This doesn't teach us how to forecast, but teaches us a lot about possible trends, developments, and so on. Let's go. Ethical awareness. At the strategic level, the ethical issue is more difficult because it's more difficult to ensure perception of justice and fairness, and the critical issue is to keep leaders and the people faithful to ethical approaches, even when there are contradictions, and there are always contradictions. So this is a specific challenge which must be addressed. I'll give you an example. In the Academy, you know the problem of the terrà dei fuochi, which is really the icon, the monument of the defection in the prisoner's dilemma. I don't care at all about anybody else. I get money to destroy my land and drink mineral water to keep safe. Okay? Well, we had this Don Patriciello coming to the Academy to tell our young students all the dirty mechanisms, all the bad things that happened there, which are really discouraging. But we wanted to do that as a vaccine, to understand this is bad, but this happens and we must get ready to cope also with these situations. Okay. Just to tell you how. Let's go. Then there are some thinking mechanisms. The deductive approach, a good understanding of inductive and deductive approach. This is very important. Let's one back, deductive. Deductive approach means going from the big picture to the particular issue. Inductive, vice versa, from the particular issue, and then lead you back to a broader frame. The strategic thinker must be good at both, but must be especially good at building the big picture, knowing that it will never be enough, big enough and accurate enough. But this effort to build a big picture, to look at different things. This is very important. And this course goes in that direction. Let's go ahead. Frames of reference. You must train yourself to look at reality through very different frames of reference. One very powerful cognitive instrument approach is to look at the same thing from very different perspectives. For example, in my book, which I don't have here, deliberately I chose an anthropological frame of reference, a historical frame of reference, empirical frame of reference, so experience on the field, and very important, and we will touch on this later, complexity and chaos approach. I mean, the perspective of the theories of complexity and chaos, which give a powerful, I think, cognitive approach to complex problems. And then some models, application models of all this resulting implication that come from these different frames of reference. The amazing thing is that you find always amazing connections between the various fields. And this is the power of your course. That's right. Divergent, convergent thinking means the capability, which becomes also an intuitive capability, to understand how much you must analyze with the divergent phase of your thought, of your thinking, and when you have to converge on the decision. And this is an issue of judgment. But to develop this judgment, there must be a specific attention to this phase, to this issue. I'm analyzing a problem. How long, how broadly must I do that? And when do I have to quit analyzing to converge on the action? This is a critical skill which must be, let's say, developed. Thinking of how there are many different approaches, problem solving, thinking techniques, creative techniques, and so on. The literature is full of these issues. It's useful to frequent, to visit this frequently this approaches because help. Conflict management. This is another very important issue of strategic relevance. Conflicts in large organizations, because of the low trust which is inherent in large organizations, low trust level, are extremely common, and they destroy a huge amount of resources. I've seen that happening. All the things that I say, I've seen those happening. So, how to manage conflicts is another specific skill that at the strategic level is very important. I won't go into details, but communication is very important. It's fundamental. It's everything, I must say, in big organization. And then to understand this negative feedback brain, which is the negative answer to a perceived negative behavior, which starts a negative feedback brain, which brings up incredible conflicts for nothing. These are just two elements, but there is much more to say. I want just to prime the attention on this issue. Then, let's go on. Technology. I won't expand on that, but network capabilities are a huge resource for the governments, future governments. And there is a whole discourse about that. We don't want to do that. It's time for a break. Let's go ahead. You, who are digital natives, are much better equipped to utilize this tool if you understand its potential in the leadership domain, in the management of the collective action, and also in the leadership of your the people in general. So the message is technology, for once, technology can integrate rather than fragment our knowledge. And so this is a huge resource that must be specifically utilized. Here I have some examples, but I would say let's skip them, even though they are pretty much useful to understand what I mean, using the digital tools to further leadership at the strategic level, and not only at the strategic level, also at the lower levels. These capabilities process complexity, but then show simplicity. And one of the functions, let's go ahead, of the leaders is to do that. They can get the big picture because they get so many information. They have the potential to assemble so many informations. And they strive for a holistic approach. That means that they have the potential to put together a big picture if they are built for that purpose. Let's go. And they can be very rapidly used to achieve results. And this is very important. And technology is, the digital technology is an empowering agent to distribute leadership at the lower level, bringing information to the lower levels. Because if you don't have information, you cannot take initiative and decide, and you cannot decentralize. And you also have to control. And this technology gives you the capability to decentralize much more because of the information distribution, and to control better because of the feedback that you can get. They must be taught as a leadership tool. Okay. Conclusion, we have entered year 2000 with a true Paleolithic mind. Complexity is pushing us to the limits of our current cultural capability to cope. Strategic leadership can upgrade this capability, redefining itself through new thinking, networks, and complexity approaches that we will see later. Okay, I would say that we got these messages through our discussion. Okay, and here there is a concept which is the network of leaders. We said leadership as a system, and to have a system you must network the leaders. One of the very recent short-term achievements of my organization is that we started to put together leaders, high-level leaders, for 3 days, doing work, high-intensity work together, and this has had a very incredible results in a very short time, and networking them. And this has having very good effects on the rest of the organization. Okay. And these are a few bullets for advertisements. We need to develop a new paradigm of thought to support this new governance that we really need. And there is a lack of governance in the economic field, in the security field, in the public policies field, and we need to build that. And this initiative, which we will grow, I'm sure, like many others, because we are not alone, we are doing similar things, and many others are doing similar things. These are the perspective and the actual hope for the next future. Good enough, I hope. Let's take a break, and then we'll resume in 15 minutes. Carissimo, Lorenzo,